Hello, Greg from Balloon Market here, and welcome to BMTV. This week on BMTV, we're doing something slightly different. A couple of months ago, we had Sue and John Bowler come in, and we were having a chat with them about the ever-present topic that is balloon releases at the moment. As you may or may not know, Bapia, that John runs, has just recently announced that it is no longer supporting balloon releases, which is great, of course, because it really will help our industry in the long run. Anyway, they came in and we had a chat, and we did that for our podcast. And the podcast, if you've not seen the podcast or had a look, we'll put some links down below. You can download it on iTunes, etc. And the great thing about podcasts is obviously you can listen to them while you're doing something else like exercising or driving or whatever. So we're going to try and do a few more this year than we've done in the past. But while we were doing the podcast with Sue and John, we thought we'd video it as well. So this is the result of that. We've cut it down a little bit. To hear the full podcast, you'd need to go and have a listen to the podcast, either download it from iTunes or elsewhere. But this is a slightly shorter version of it, and obviously on video. So I hope you enjoy it. Hello, Greg from Balloon Market here, and welcome to the Balloon Market podcast. We are lucky to be joined by the one and only, the couple that is most well known in the industry, John and Sue Bowler. Thank you both for coming in.
Hi, Greg. It's a pleasure.
Hi.
John and Sue, I was going to introduce you both and tell everybody what it is you do, who you are, but I'm going to pass that over to you. So, John, do you want to start by telling everybody who you are and what you do, and maybe a little potted history of how long you've been in the industry?
Be a pleasure. Okay, I'm John Bowler, and I've been in the industry for about 28, 29 years now. Currently, I am the Chief Executive of Bapia, which is a trade organisation. We work for the balloon industry and for our members. I've been through the industry starting off as a vendor selling foil balloons. I've been a decorator and have done a lot of wholesale business and worked for manufacturers as well. So I've kind of gone through the whole spectrum of the balloon and party industry.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, Sue, tell everybody about you.
I'm Sue Bowler, and I've been involved in the balloon industry for a similar length of time as John. I've held a number of different roles. Currently, my main role is as an industry educator and as a blogger. I write the Very Best Balloon blog, which is a real passion of mine. I absolutely love writing it, and I also love to teach and educate people.
So a lot of knowledge between you. In fact, we were just saying earlier on, between you, you've got more than half a century's worth of experience in the industry.
Yes.
Not to make you feel old.
I say yes, makes me feel very old.
But yeah, I apologise for that. Anyway, the subject of the day is something that is very hot at the moment. A lot of people are talking about it within our industry. And it is, of course, balloon releases. So Bapia has recently publicly put their view forward.
We've taken a position. For a while now, we've been looking at this and trying to establish the best way forward, both to protect our members and the industry, and hopefully keep the industry going for the future, effectively. There's been a lot of pressure being put on the industry in terms of balloon releases, and for a number of years we've fought that, but we've been constantly looking at it and trying to understand what is the right position, what's the right thing to do. And then recently we undertook a survey of our members, and we asked them a number of questions regarding balloon releases and how they felt about whether they produce litter and whether they were a danger to the environment. The feedback that we got from that and from our members was a resounding decision that they really didn't want us to support balloon releases any longer, and they felt that they were bad for the environment and that they created litter, and that they would support a decision to come out and say Bapia no longer supports balloon releases. We created a press release, then a press release is for our members to use so that they could go to their local media and explain to them what they were doing and why they were doing it. And we also created a statement with an emblem behind it that they could post in their social media, in their shops, wherever they were working, to say that they supported this decision, and they were part of that decision, and that they would no longer support balloon releases. We think it's very much the right thing to do, and it appears that not only our members feel the same, but we've had so much positive feedback and support. It has been phenomenal, and clearly it is the right way to go, and the way that the majority of the industry sees our future, and the way that we can maintain the industry and continue to grow it and protect it. Okay. So we're very happy with what we've done and very pleased, and we believe that it's the right thing to do for our members and the industry.
Fantastic. I mean, I completely agree with you. Here at Balloon Market, we've not supported balloon releases for many years. We've not sold the items for them, as you know. However, I might play a little bit of devil's advocate here, and just to be able to go a little bit deeper with this. So some might argue that if we support a ban for balloon releases, then eventually we're effectively supporting a ban on balloons altogether, which has happened in some parts of the world. Not necessarily because there's been a ban of balloon releases, but just because of miseducation, maybe?
There are a number of bans in place around the world, and unfortunately those bans have been total ban on balloons. It's not just a ban on balloon releases. Any helium balloon, any air-filled balloon, any twister balloon, so even entertainers going onto a council's property, they will not be allowed to entertain with balloons. They are complete bans, and that's what we've seen happening. And I believe the only way that we can stop that growing and stop it from becoming a total ban on balloons worldwide is to say, yep, balloon releases should be banned. Balloon releases categorically create litter. There is no two ways about that. But the rest of our industry is very caring of the environment and understanding of the environment and wants to protect the environment. So don't ban balloons per se. Let's ban the stuff that is causing the problem and be caring about what we do with the rest of our industry. So helium balloons are still fantastic. Everybody loves a balloon. But again, we need to weight it down, make sure it's not going to escape and fly away. You know, if we have any big sculptures or anything of that nature, when they're finished with, they get disposed of properly and carefully, and where possible, everything is recycled. That's what it's about. That's why we took the decision, because without taking that decision and without the industry looking upon it in the same way, I genuinely believe that we will not be able to protect the industry as a whole, and we will all suffer. So we have to take action now, stand up and be counted and say, this is what we're going to do. And for the future, there will be a balloon industry.
What are your thoughts, Sue?
I'm totally, in line with John on this. I've been watching for quite a long time now the growing problems that are occurring due to balloon releases. I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position where I travel and teach around the world. And it was some years ago I was teaching in Holland, in Amsterdam, and just listening to the problems that they were experiencing with their governments. This is probably 2-3 years ago, and the bans that were being imposed. And the ironic thing was a lot of the balloon waste that they were getting on their beaches was all coming over from the UK, and which was easily identifiable because of all the logos that were printed on the balloons. So I've been watching this growing for some time and hearing all the problems that are occurring and getting quite sort of internally panicky about it and thinking, where is this leading? And then when PIBA set up in Australia and I was seeing what they were doing, I just thought, wow, I'm so excited that somebody is actually standing up and making a big effort to do something really, really positive. And what's really exciting about what they're doing in Australia is that they're getting results, because where they're having people anti-balloons, they're actually talking to them, they're showing them the support that we're trying to give back from the balloon industry, and they're listening. It doesn't just stop at balloon releases. We do have to be more responsible. We do have to think about giving care cards to our customers about how they treat their balloons once they're finished with, the pin it and bin it slogan that they've come up with in PIBA as well. It's fantastic. It's taking all these steps and showing the world, and it is the world, that we care. It's not, I remember years ago, oh, the Californian law, oh, it only happens in California. You know, it seriously, it isn't just California, it is a worldwide issue. And I get very upset when I look at Facebook or and social media sites, and you see somebody proudly posted some photographs of like sort of topiary balls being let off, and I just thought, you have no idea. It really is a problem. So we have to get together to do this. We do.
I think that's a really good point. What you just made there is that people. It's not that they've got the public. It's not that they've got an opinion one way or the other. It just doesn't even enter their minds. It's not a thing that they're giving any consideration to. And the little Alfie Evans thing that happened recently, people that were buying balloons and releasing balloons to commemorate him, they weren't thinking about the impact on the environment or anything like that. It was just a really nice sentiment that they were doing that. But we need to educate, and I know a lot of people use balloon releases for that sort of thing now. And even if it's only a single balloon, you're still releasing a balloon. You're still littering, however you look at it. Yeah. And as you say, John, you're absolutely right that there's no way to not look at it as littering, really. And that's one of the issues I think we've got as an industry, trying to show people that actually it is littering. I
was reading a dissertation recently that was published in, I think, 2012, and the dissertation was written about balloon releases and the impact they have on the environment. And of the balloons that had been released, they were only able to track a tiny number of them. But of those that they were able to track, 85% were found with more than half of the balloon still in one piece. The balance had gone up and obviously had shattered into smaller pieces. But what we have to remember is that all of those pieces fall back down to earth. There is no argument that they don't litter. They categorically, absolutely create litter, because it goes up. Whatever happens to it, it will come back down to earth. As much as we may not see it here, as Sue says, with the coastline of the Netherlands as it is, it's prime target for everything that's released in the UK heads that way. So that's why the Dutch have been so vocal about this. But when we release it, up it goes. We don't see where it ends up. But I guarantee you, it all comes back down.
It does. It's influence. That's what it's all about. We want to influence people to not release balloons because of its littering. If there's people that they're wanting to have a complete balloon ban, we've got to influence them to see what we're about and what the industry's about and how we're a responsible industry. So it's all about influence is the way I look at it. And I think by us taking this stance and saying no to balloon releases, we recognise they're bad. However, as an industry, we're very responsible, as you say, and it's a very green industry if you look at latex, etc. And what you can reuse, and the helium thing we were talking about earlier on. It's a relatively green industry. But if we can take that step and say, we don't support balloon releases, doesn't that make us far more influential with people that might just have had a couple of snippets, heard something in the pub, heard something on TV, seen something on TV, or on Facebook, even worse, on social media, that there's somebody with a picture of lots of balloons, and they instantly just think, okay, balloons are bad. Making a decision on that much information is not right. So we need to be in a stronger position to be able to influence, and I guess part of that would be saying, yes, we're completely in line with you when it comes to the environment, so work with us.
2 weeks ago, Norway, the government of Norway, were ready to ban balloons completely. And again, just through misinformation. And now they've agreed not to put that ban in position, but they want answers. They want to know. The balloon industry in Norway are working so hard to protect, and get the information so that they can go back with a positive fight and say, no, it's not balloons you want to ban, but what we do want to ban is balloon releases. So, this is true. This is happening now, and we have to do something. And this is the most positive thing that we can do. And there is no reason to have a balloon release. Okay, they look fantastic. Okay, they can have a sentiment at a very sad time. I completely get that, but there has to be an alternative, and a safe alternative, and one that doesn't affect our industry.
Yeah.
That's the most important message.
I know there are also people who will say that, so if I don't offer to do a balloon release, then they'll only go down the road to one of the multiple chains and buy their balloons from there, and then they'll go and release them, and they will then just attach ribbon to it. Well, the argument against to that really has to be that public opinion will change how even these multiple retailers operate. If public opinion is strong enough and people are saying no, it shouldn't be like this, then they will start to look at it. They'll start to look at the reputation of their company, and they'll say no, actually we will no longer support doing this as well. You can't. It may be impossible at this stage to police that, because if somebody walks into a shop and just buys a balloon and releases it, you're not going to stop it. But by changing public opinion and by making people aware that actually balloon releases are a negative thing, they're going to have to look at it, because it will tarnish their reputation.
Absolutely.
If they don't support our position as well. And so I believe that you will see in the not too distant future that those retailers will come on board and they'll start making their own statement and putting their own plans in place to prevent people from releasing balloons. So it's small steps, one at a time, and we will get to the point where hopefully the industry is protected and safeguarded, and we all continue to be employed and the industry grows and thrives as it should do, and people can still then enjoy balloons, which is what they're about. Balloons they're a fun thing. They make people smile. It creates interest, and that's what we, as an industry, we all want to continue doing.
Can you imagine a world without balloons, though?
I know, it'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's ironic, because I would say that balloons are probably used more today in terms of marketing, corporate work. What you'd see on Instagram and different marketing campaigns, you think the profile of balloons at events and what they can do for an event is huge. So, and that's not balloon releases. We're in this really strange phase, because where I can see two sides, this amazing growing industry where we've got so many fabulous opportunities, and we really are trendy. We are literally at the top of a trend. And then we've got this background situation which is attacking us. And so, we have to react really quickly and say, yes, we are responsible, because, this has impact. I mean, I had a client who I've worked for a number of years come to me and say, we're no longer using balloons at our events because we don't consider them to be PC anymore. And that was a real shock, an absolute shock, because you just thought, wow, this is already having an impact. That's not just me that's suffering, it's obviously the balloon companies, it's also the people that print the balloons for me. We're all going to have an impact, we're all losing work out of it. And I just think, wow, we've really got to do something, and do something quickly, because it could all just, crash around us very quickly.
It really warmed me earlier on when you were talking about people's reaction to the BAPIA stance, because it sounds like people, you give me some examples of how people's Instagram feeds and Facebook feeds have never been so active when they announced that they themselves are no longer going to support.
We produced a statement that people could use, and it wasn't restricted to members. It was available to anybody that supported the decision and wanted to take the same stance. They were able to use it. We made it available, and we've had such a good response. There's one lady who posted it on her Instagram account, and she said that her Instagram had never been so active because she'd had such a positive response from her followers. And similarly, another person who had posted it in their shop window, and she had people come back who said, really support what you're doing, think it's a fantastic move, and we will support you in what you're doing as well. So it's actually, in a bizarre way, it is putting a positive spin onto balloons and the industry. The more that we can push this, the more positive response we'll get, and therefore, actually, the higher the profile that we'll build with balloons, because we will then be seen as a caring and responsible industry, and that we take notice of what's going on, and we understand our responsibilities, and we act upon those, and we do stuff to put it right, and make sure that we're being as environmentally friendly as we possibly can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is interesting, that whole social media side, because I think that's how the word will get out. I think it's just going to be, people are going to be surprised. There's a balloon shop that doesn't offer balloon releases. How great is this? Because those are probably the same people that if you did a balloon release, they'd be attacking you, saying, think of the animals, think of the environment, think of everything else. And I think it's an amazing tool to have, social media. If you're doing the right thing, that message will get out there, and all of a sudden the balloon industry, it's not the bad industry, it's the good industry that's supporting the environment. And I think it'll take time, but I think once we've got that label, then it's working with the environmental groups. And I know there's the environmental groups, they're intentionally antagonistic. They put pictures on of animals, and are they staged? Are they not staged? I honestly don't know. Have animals been killed? Yeah, very, very probably, because if people are releasing things with valves, with ribbon, it's very, very likely. And of course, that plays on people's hearts. People love animals, and any cruelty to animals, they don't like to see it. However, take that to one side, what are they trying to achieve? It's a better environment. Well, that's what we're trying to achieve as well. So they're just using a different tactic. As long as we're talking and the end result is the environment is a better environment in which to live, don't we all win?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. If people see that we have, as an industry, taken action and taken a step towards being environmentally responsible, then it means when they then hear the other side of the argument, well, hang on, but my local balloon shop, my local balloon decorator doesn't do balloon releases, so I don't see what your argument is. From my understanding of the industry, they're responsible. So if we can actually get one step ahead, it's got to be a positive thing. Totally agree with you.
Absolutely. So if somebody they're not too sure. Okay, I'm not too sure. Should I continue offer balloon releases? Should I start? I mean, I think the hardest thing is somebody has a shop, somebody comes in and says, I want some balloons to commemorate somebody. That's always going to be a difficult conversation to have. But if somebody is in that position, they don't want to support balloon releases, but they feel in that situation really pressured, and it's only one balloon, it's only a few balloons. What should they do you think?
For me, I think they should explain to them their reasoning behind not wanting to offer them balloons for release. And I think many people will understand that. There will always be a few who won't. But if you can then offer something as an alternative.
We had that recent one. Somebody on the Bappier Facebook group actually went to the members and said, I've got this situation. There's a school where they've lost a student and they wanted to do a balloon release. And I've gone back to them and said that I'm really sorry, but I don't offer balloon releases, and gave them all the reasons, which they totally understood. But they said, well, we'd like to do something with balloons. What would you suggest? Funnily enough, I'd actually been in Germany the week before, and we'd gone out one evening, and we were walking along, and I just saw these little pouches, and they were just called flower bombs. And basically, they were just something that you could take anywhere and throw, and potentially they exploded, and little seeds would be, scattered around. What would be even better than that would be to put a few flower seeds into the balloons for the children. The children could write a little message on the balloon, and then they could take it to wherever they wanted to, pop the balloon, leave a lasting message in terms of the flowers, and that would be somewhere that they could go back year after year and see the fruits of their message. And the school thought it was an amazing idea, and ran with that, and thought wonderful. It was fantastic. So there are solutions, but we've got to think out of the box a little bit. It's different. We've got to really. I've got a few other ideas that I'm working on, and hopefully I'll be able to share those on a blog soon. But I think if anybody's got some alternative ideas, that we should just again put our heads together and make a whole list of things that this is what you can do as a great alternative. The more ideas, the better. So send them our way, and we'll put them together and we'll post them out.
Yeah,
but I think also it's when you offer somebody an alternative and you explain the reasoning behind it, the majority of people will get on board with that, and they'll understand, and they'll say, actually, yeah, I agree with that.
And just think of the message that went home to all those families as well. So the families will be thinking, well, that's very responsible, and what a really nice idea. And that word will spread. Potentially that could make the media. So the more positive things that we do like that, the better it's going to be, overall. It's just going to show that we are thinking and we are taking responsible action. So
fantastic. So what can people do? What should we all be doing? I've made some suggestions. I mean, let's very quickly talk about PIBA. We've talked about PIBA before, the Pro Environment Balloon Alliance over in Australia. Join that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What else? What else can people be doing to?
We created the balloon statement that people can download, and they can post. Again, they can put it on their social media, on their website, and potentially that, sending that out to their local press, to the local media, will generate interest, and that, with some luck and on a quiet news day, if you like, the media will then approach them and ask, what's this about, and it will get some coverage. So it will also give them potentially a little more marketing.
Maybe just sharpening up our practices as retailer decorators and making sure that we are thinking constantly about the environment and educate, giving customers information about throwing their balloons away responsibly, disposing of them responsibility. Just all those different things. If we can just all grow, and we'll be doing more with BAPIA in terms of giving people information. But definitely, as we said, PIBA and the European Balloon Council have got so many fabulous resources. And I think that we can all grow from there.
I love the pin it and bin it.
So do I.
I think that's a great thing. It's just so clear. And so I think that's really good. And you mentioned weights earlier as well. Add a weight to every balloon you sell, because I think the release thing and people finding these balloons, they are quite often just accidentally released balloons. They're not necessarily organised releases for any particular reason. It's little Johnny, who's 18 months old, releasing his balloon. So, little
and that's
things like
something
weights.
that we can all do. I mean, we've got a dog, and we walk, we live in the countryside, and we walk him, 3 times a day. And both John and I, whenever we go for a walk, if we ever see a balloon, we'll pick it up and bring it back and to put it in the bin, because we don't want people to see that. John came home recently with a balloon. I said, I saw that one, but I couldn't reach it. So, so I think we should all take that stance that, if we do see anything, we deal with it, and don't let it sit there and let other people see it, because it's just, every time it's just another reminder to people that balloons aren't good in the environment, in the countryside. Yeah,
I recently found out about something called plogging. I don't know if you've heard of plogging.
I haven't, no. It's new
one
to me.
I can't remember which country it was, but basically it's jogging while litter picking.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the plogging is, but obviously it's jogging with PR, so it's probably whichever country. It might even have been Holland or Norway or somewhere like that. And people go out and they jog and they're wearing gloves and they pick up litter. But they say it's a great workout because you're squatting, you're lunging, as well as running. So littering is a worldwide issue. And like you said earlier, public perception, people see that littering is actually a bad thing. So we don't want to...
It is, and these days, I remember when I was young, there was so much litter around, and people weren't really too concerned about it. But now, I think if you are seen to drop litter, somebody is likely to stop you and say, excuse me, do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, that's me.
Because it's... But why not? If we don't do it, if we don't look after our environment, we're going to ruin it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to, and as you say, weights on balloons, it's just something that it not only sort of protects it from being released and causing damage, but yeah, the young child that's got that balloon, who may be too young to really understand about holding on to it and the fact that it will float away, well, if they let go of it, they don't lose it. And for the parent, they haven't then lost what they've just spent on the balloon for the child and have to go back and buy another one. Yeah. So it's about ballooning responsibly and just thinking about what we're doing as an industry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. John Bowler, Sue Bowler, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your time coming down and doing this. That is it from the Balloon Market podcast this time. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you go. I hope you found that interesting. It was really good to talk to John and Sue, as it always is. They really are passionate about our industry, and they really, really do want to do what is best for the industry. So I hope you found that insightful. As I said at the beginning, we are hoping to do a few more podcasts this year than we have in the past. So if you do want to know about those, just subscribe on iTunes or one of the other platforms that we have listed below. Right, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hopefully, see you again soon. Bye.